Are we ready to go over there? Everybody ready?
Thank you.
Everybody else ready? Okay, here we go. North Smithfield Town Council, November 15th, 2021. Madam Clerk, will you lead us in the prayer and the pledge? Roll call, please.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Open forum pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-6. At this time, I have two names on the sheet for open forum. So I would first call Carla Puccetti up to the stand. Carla is a high school senior who wants to discuss her senior project, and also be noted that Carla is a outstanding athlete for the high school, doing a great job in volleyball, cross country, and basketball.
Lacrosse. Hello, everyone. I'm Carla Puccetti, and as Mr. Biergod said, for my senior project, I'm planning to revive the Northman 5K. I'm planning this for Saturday, April 30th at 9 a.m., and it will start and end at the Veterans Memorial Stadium. So I stand in front of you guys to seek your support with any road closures or any problems that I may approach in this process. And I'm planning to donate all my proceeds to Operation Stand Down Rhode Island, which is a nonprofit organization which aids homeless and at-risk veterans. So I will be speaking before you again with any issues that arise and any road closures that I need.
Let us know whatever we can do to help.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good job. Michael Clifford.
Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. I was really absolutely dismayed when at the last meeting I heard a discussion of whether or not the town should bring back RGB. And I'm very thankful for Mrs. Alves that she seems to have a memory, but many other people don't. RGB, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the situation, was issued a cease and desist order by the town of North Smithfield in 2015 because of the atrocious application he submitted to RIDE for the construction of the four classroom school that was approved by the voters, the bond issue to expand it by 4 rooms. Rather than submit an application with $4.3 million worth of items in it, as was approved by the voters and known to the town fathers, Mr. DeQuattro and the superintendent submitted an application to RIDE for $5.9 million of work to be done in the buildings. So that application was rejected because the scope of work did not meet the budget, which was the 4.3. He signed an affidavit in that application contained a page that was an affidavit attesting to the fact that all town fathers and leaders were well aware of what was in that application. At the time, not one person knew about it. School committee members, no. Town council members, no. Town administrator, no. So to think that after we spent that money, wasted that money, weren't able to go forward with the school bond in the timeline that we had planned for it, which was to coincide with a huge influx of money from National Grid for their $65 million investment in tangibles, it would have covered the bond payment instead of raising our taxes. But because somebody played a game, that happened, okay? And when I hear often that the budget was insufficient for the police station renovation, I'd like to point out that Mr. DeQuattro of RGB did the estimate for the bond. And unfortunately, he left out the cost for asbestos abatement at the police station, which some of you know would be meaningful, and how he left that out is a big mystery to me. That's a very sarcastic comment, by the way, because I think he knew he left that out. He also left out, he put in $100,000 for MEP for that whole building, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. $100,000 is what he budgeted for that amount. And then he didn't include an escalation cost. So we never hear that mentioned publicly. We always hear, Studio Major somehow or other screwed this up because they didn't do a job that matched the budget. Studio Major knew immediately when they looked at that budget that what was left out of it, and had to come up with a plan that was close to what they could come up with. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're in the hole because the other guy's work was inferior, okay? Secondly, RGB was indicted, I believe, in November of last year for bribery in a situation in Massachusetts. I'll give you the article on it. And he and the Wampanoag chief of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe are going to court, have a trial in January. Okay, it's been postponed. But I'll give you this article to read so you can read it for yourself. Apparently nobody else except for Mrs. Alves might have seen it, unless she just remembered from the email that they all got in 2015 from the town clerk. Mrs. Alves got it. She was on here. Thank God for your memory, Kim. And Mr. Zielinski got it. When I asked for this document last week, I was told nobody at Town Hall had it. Okay, nobody at Town Hall had this. Nobody at Town Hall had the plans that Studio Major did that we paid close to probably $300,000 for. The town, okay? I've got them. I've got them another way. But for them not to have it and post it on the town website so the taxpayers can compare and see what we can still be done to that building for renovations for far less than $18 million, and the square footage of the building, and compare it with what's being proposed now is pathetic. It's pathetic that you couldn't find those designs to put them on. They were sent electronically. You got Mr. Vadney at the last council meeting saying, the town has them, I have them. And then when I asked for them, we can't find them. And it's electronic, by the way. I think they should be hunting for electronic. And despite the fact that the town solicitor wrote up the letter of cease and desist, he apparently didn't have it either. Which brings me to another point. I think it's about time that we start saving all the documents written by the town solicitor and any opinions he offers to the town in writing, which is in the town charter for the opinions in writing. It's supposed to be in the town hall. We don't have a file with any of them. Maybe he's never done them in writing so that he doesn't have to leave it. But I think we need to start some good practices, and that would be one of them. The other thing that really got me upset was, as I was talking to a friend about this, he mentioned that RGB is the architect for working with Mr. DePasquale on the football fields for the stadium and concession stand. So I dug out the article and went online and searched for the article reporting on what was going on in the last meeting before the town council for that field. And I read where, and I didn't see the meeting myself, so I only read the article, but it said that the football, initially they weren't going to be able to construct that concession stand because the septic system of the middle school, which they were planning on tying into, couldn't handle it. Then all of a sudden, miraculously, they retest the septic system, treat it for a period of from January to June, according to the newspaper article. And now, lo and behold, we've got the nitrogen level under control. And it'll probably pass DEM inspection. Did anybody stop to think, first of all, that septic system is used by the middle school. And from January to June, there were no kids in that building. Okay. Secondly, I don't know if that's the best time of year to treat it when it's empty and to do retesting for it. So I'm holding my breath because I'm feeling the sense that, with the parties involved here, are we going to be finding out that as soon as that concession stand is built, the septic system is dead? Not capable of handling it? I don't think DEM, when they look at the permit that's been submitted, is going to question whether school was in session, not in session. And it sounded to me like we treated the septic system to get better test results. We didn't expand that septic system. It's kind of like some people I know I've heard of, I saw it on TV actually, to dodge the radon test when they're selling their home. They open the cellar windows and doors the night before the guy comes to test for the radon. And I'm worried that we might be doing something similar over there if we're just treating the problem. And that thing truly doesn't have the capacity to handle it. But we want that concession stand so badly, more badly than a police station, more badly than road repaving, that I guess we're willing to just, give it a rubber stamp and pass it. Did you happen to reach out to DEM to find out if that was the appropriate time of year to be testing that, and what that test result actually proved, and whether the system, that's going to impact
When
on
you
the
do
system?
with open forum is you.
No one's ever allowed to
Listen-
answer the questions.
Listen to
I
me,
know.
with open forum, you can say what you gotta say, but you're
Yeah.
not gonna start questioning everybody on the board, and you're not gonna start questioning everybody over there.
That's your rule. The state
the
law
rule.
said,
That's
no,
the rule.
no, the state law says open forum, people can come before you, I can ask questions, and you can answer it or refuse to answer it. But I have the right to ask the question of anybody. Am I wrong, Mr. Solicitor? Is they not supposed to answer my questions by law? Are they prohibited?
Once again, you can't directly ask the solicitor
Well, he shook
questions.
his head no.
You can't directly go to the solicitor, okay?
Yeah.
We can ask the solicitor
Yeah.
questions, but you just can't come up here and start questioning the
Well, I'm
solicitor.
asking the solicitor the question because I want to point out that you're making up your own rule, John. That's
Well,
not transparency.
That's the rule. That's the rule.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'll be following that closely, and I wish somebody would drop a dime and call DEM and find out exactly, is this in any way going to impact the capacity of that septic system down the road? Because I don't feel like paying for that either, septics. So thank you very much, and I'm going to give you each a copy of this, so if you didn't get the email or read the article, here it is.
You okay, Mike?
No, I'm very aggravated, John. It's the games that are played in this town. I can't tolerate them. Obviously, my final comment is, I hope as a taxpayer, I don't see that man step foot in this building again, or any others of the town.
Okay, moving on. First of all, before we close executive session, open forum, would anybody else like to come up and be heard during open forum? Okay, we're going to move on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move new business A, discussion by council, vote or other action on update, presentation of senior citizen advisory committee, and ask former town administrator Linda Tebow to come on up, and you have the floor.
May I? Thank you. Carl said I can stand to the side, because look, I look like the queen. So it's true. Don't laugh. So he gave me one of these things. Am I on? Okay. Can I don't want to, mess you up here, but I'm gonna. Can I do this? Huh? Well, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, that's good. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Town Administrator, members of the council. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. I am the chairman of the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. We've been meeting since May, huh, Jojo? May. And we've been working on different things, but we're getting a little bit frustrated. But I will tell you, one of the things that we did vote on was that the mission of our group would be to provide programs and services for seniors in North Smithfield so that they maintain an active, independent lifestyle in the community. Then another time we voted that we'd like to designate a place for these services to be offered. And early on, when we thought maybe it'd be Hallowell, we were going to call it the Hallowell Center. But anyways, with that said, I'm going to stand this way, okay? And we're going to talk about the value of senior centers, because it's come to my attention that so many people don't really know what goes on in a senior center. I think we just sit around, drink tea, play bingo, knit and crochet, but a lot more stuff goes on than that. So I'd like to just use this
Play
time.
cards too.
Huh?
You play cards too.
Well, yeah, they play cribbage and whist, right? But that happens. But we have lots of other stuff. So if I start talking too long, just get the hook and pull me off. Okay, so the value of senior centers. Here we go. So in front of you, you see all the senior centers in and around our town. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to shed a light on them. Because during the pandemic, these senior centers were the lifeline to the seniors that were living in the communities. They were connections. They did things like register people for vaccines. They made wellness calls. They checked in on them. Because, you know, the kids suffered a lot, and they really did, not being able to be in school. People in nursing homes did. But the people in the communities, in their own homes and in the senior housing, were stuck. They were really stuck and alone. So these are the people that I'd like to say thank you. And you notice I have Millville, Blackstone, Bellingham. And is it interesting that they're called senior centers? Because there's a word, there's a move afoot that's, I don't know who's trying to tell us, but a senior center is a bad word. It used to be that seniors meant something very important. Senior senator, senior in high school, senior in college, but now if you put it with center, it's a bad thing. But anyways, I can tell you that we don't have one, so we did not have that connection for our seniors in this town. Fortunately, people like Kim Alves and Mr. Zielinski stepped up to the plate, Claire as well, and the rest of the council, and they made the phone calls to register people for the vaccines. EMA did a good job. But in most of the municipalities, this is what did it, okay? Now, if you think we don't need one in this town, let me just give you a couple of stats, okay? So at the Lincoln Senior Center, there are 87 North Smithfield seniors that are members there. At the Gloucester Senior Center, there are 29 members there from North Smithfield. In the Gus Ayotte Center, that's what I'm going to talk about today because that's the one I know the most about. Right now we have about 100 signed up. That's the one that used to be the Woonsocket Senior Center. Now it's named Gus Ayotte. But also, some people that I know, and anecdotally, I don't have numbers, but I do know that some of the seniors from North Smithfield go to the Bellingham Senior Center. They go there for what's happening. They have birthday parties and they get a gift if they're a member. They go there. Millville Senior Center, some of the more senior ladies go there for line dancing with Mary. She's been teaching there for a long time. And so that's where they go. So kudos, thank you to my colleagues and all the senior centers for helping seniors during the pandemic, and it was really a bad time for seniors. Next. So I'm going to talk about the Gus Ayotte Senior Center because that's what I know most about. I've been there since 2009, and it's a different setup. It's not a municipal at all. Aging Well, Inc., that used to be Senior Services, changed our name because it better reflects what it is we do. And full disclosure, I retired, and that lasted a month. So I'm back again and helping out. But Aging Well is a small non-for-profit serving seniors and folks with disabilities in all of Northern Rhode Island, starting in Gloucester all the way down to Woonsocket. And the mission is to keep people home, give them the resources they need and let them stay home where they want to be. That's where they want to be. One of the things that we do have is a congregate meal site. There used to be one at Scouters Hall many moons ago when my parents were alive, and that's no longer there. But that's Steve Healy. He's the director of the congregate meal program, and he arranges and coordinates meals for all of Northern Rhode Island, starting up in Gloucester, Lincoln, Cumberland, and into Woonsocket, and into the high-rises in Woonsocket as well. He also does different things, like right now he's just created something called Pizza in a Movie. For $3, they get calzone, salad, and a pizza, and a current movie. Try to do that today, you can't. But during the pandemic, everything slowed down, and what they were doing was grab and go, so that people that had food insecurity could at least have some food. And they were there, and it was like a food pantry. When they got the food in from the Rhode Island Food Bank, they helped to get it out to the people. And then we also, Meals on Wheels, which is vital, we partner with Blackstone Valley Community Action to deliver coordinate the volunteers, get the volunteers, and deliver the meals. That's Mike, and that's Nancy. She's off on her route. But Mike is delivering today because, excuse me, because a volunteer didn't show up. So that's what happened during the pandemic as well, because volunteers were in that vulnerable, easy for me to say, vulnerable population, so staff went out. There was a skeleton staff. They let me off the hook because I'm old, and so I could be at home. Okay, next slide, please. So we also have something called an information specialist. This is really important because especially now, open enrollment, time to look at your Medicare benefits and see if you want to change them. And so we have Lynn at, in the Woonsocket site at Gus Ayotte, and we were lucky to have somebody here on Thursdays, Guy, and he did a good job, and that's thanks to Paul over there that got them a laptop, and Jerry Ann that helped out, and Carl that set it up. So that worked out well. But that information specialist, Lynn, also takes care of SNAP, that Senior Nutrition Assistance Program, food stamps, Medicaid applications, Medicare Part B, and also referrals to whatever agency they may need. Next. Also, Aging Well has something called A Home for the Day. It's an adult day program. It's a great place. It's a safe place where loved ones can be while you go to work or you just need a break. And it's a medical model. There's a registered nurse that's the director, does a great job. So they can get their medications, they can have wounds changed, dressings changed, things like that. And then, of course, everything came to a halt with the pandemic. So these people stayed home. And when they did finally come back, because we did cautiously bring them all back, I think it was June or July, a few at a time, their loved ones told us the decline that happened while they were not there, where they were having all the activities and the exercise and all. And this Terry in the front here with the red shirt, she's a real sweetheart. She cried when she came back and she saw me and she hugged me. She said, I'm so glad to be back. I was so bored at home. And so she had so much going on. But it's a great place. It's a great place. That's one of the other services. And again. And then we have the wellness programs. There's something called the Title IIIB Older American Act, and that's what we use to fund all of the programs that happen at Gus Ayotte, and then we have some that are offered at Scouters Hall as well. And, hi Ray. And I lost my train of thought. But actually, this is a grant that's offered out to senior centers, only to senior centers, and I wrote it down because I don't always remember money. $61,250, and it's spread over 21 months. We've been getting, Aging Well has been getting that grant since 2009. That's when they called me up and said, you want to come and develop this grant? And I said, sure, I will. Oh, we'll talk about those too. So anyways, I'm rewriting that grant now. That's why I look a little stressed. But anyway, so it's all about health promotion and chronic disease prevention, and that's who they give it to, because they also want to keep people at home where they want to be, independent and at home and healthy. So I said, okay, I'll do that, and I came on board, and I went into a three-pronged approach. I used health education, health monitoring, health promotion, and these are the things that I thought would be necessary so that people could stay at home and be healthy. Next. Where am I? Okay, so these are some of the education programs that we have. We do a lot with URI. We have URI Pharmacy Nutrition that come in monthly to do programs. We have the AAA Safe Driver course that we offer in both sites, and we just had one in at Scouters. We had about 20 people, and they were really glad because then they got a discount on their insurance. We've had diabetic support groups, as you can see. We added mindfulness meditation because so many seniors were really depressed and anxious after being isolated for as long as they were. So that's why we put that in place. We had, what we were finding out that people were approaching us to do things. Like one time I got a call from the American Diabetes Association and said, will you be a pilot site for a senior signature event? I always say, sure. So come on down. And it was so successful that they actually did it all over the state of Rhode Island as well. The same thing with the Walk with Ease, that was with the Arthritis Foundation, said the same thing. And we said, do it, let's go. And one thing that we do every single year, though, is fall prevention, because because falls can be a terrible, terrible thing when you get a little bit older. Actually, sadly, though, it's not a joke, Claire, but research tells us that after a fractured hip, that many times within the year, people end up either in a nursing home or sadly succumb to the complications of immobility and die. So it is important. So we repeat that every year. But education is really, really important because we have to give people what they need to know so they can be an advocate and do what they can to keep themselves healthy and independent. Okay? I don't want to take too long. I don't want to bore you. This is the one thing a good thing that happened because of the pandemic. Excuse me. We got a call from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island and asked if we would be a site for this, the University of Rhode Island's Engaging Generations Cyber Seniors Program. And once again, we said, sure. And so what happened, we got $25,000 that was used to buy tablets for the seniors in high rises in Woonsocket. And also in that $25,000, there was enough to hire Alex, she's a URI grad student, to come in and actually set them up and teach them. So that was a great thing, because they realized that during the pandemic that so many people had no connection. They didn't have internet, they didn't have those electronic devices, and it was hard to keep them connected. So that was a good program, and I think 60, Linda, was it? 60, yeah. She's our IT person and a lot of other things, and we got 60 tablets, so that was good. But it was first come, first serve. So, all right, moving along. And also we did health monitoring. Anybody recognize that lady sitting up there, former town administrator, Paulette Hamilton? Yeah, we've been doing blood pressure clinic, but not only blood pressure clinic, we do a nurse consultation, because anybody can take you and give you the numbers. Anybody. You can go to CVS, put your arm in the thing, you know your blood pressure. But it's the individual teaching that happens at that time of the blood pressure that's important, where we really go over diet, are you taking your medications, and those types of things. But we've done all kinds of screenings. That Department of Health oral screening, once again, they contacted us. Would we do that screening? And we said, yeah, and it was successful. Immunization clinics. We just got a call from the governor's office and asked if we would do a booster clinic, Moderna booster clinic, and we said yes. So that's going to happen on November 30th. That's why I'm working a lot. And excuse me, balance assessment. We have on staff now, actually she's sharing the director position of the wellness with me, and she's a physical therapist. So it's really handy. She does nice balance assessments, and she'll recommend exercises where there's lacking, areas that are lacking. So that's something else. Next. And you know what else? We just spend time with friends sometimes, and there's the cards. Yep, we have cribbage. They're playing cribbage. And yes, they do play bingo still. And we have a pool table. And they play pool in the morning. And I got to tell you, we've been doing a lot at Scouters. Excuse me. We've been doing a lot at Scouters, but that's what's missing. We don't have a place for them to just be. We just don't. And actually, they're doing tailgating in the parking lot at the rec field there, without the booze and without the food. But, you know, I can't be there every day, and I can't be there all day long. But, you know, when they get together for exercise or the meditation, they form groups, and some of them are here, and they just get to be very good friends, and they want to chit-chat afterwards. And, you know, this is as important as any program that we do, when people interact and they share and they just spend time with friends. So we got to work on that, Paul, at Scouters. And then here's something that we tried to start, well, we did start, Quilts of Valor. If you've never heard of it, it's groups that get together and make quilts. And they're awarded to veterans that have been touched by war. And we were really doing you know, I don't sew, so I used to fill the steam iron thing, you know, iron the cloth, but I don't sew. And that's our quilt that we made, and that's our gang. And at our veterans dinner, we got to award 3 of them because one group in Connecticut and another one in Warwick gave us, so that we had 3 to award. And right here we have Mr. Laurent Gendron, dad of Dan Gendron, president of the Council on Woonsocket. He's World War II. He was in the Ardennes Forest. He fought in Battle of the Bulge. And then we have Tom McGee, father of Tom the Third. Big Tom, yeah, Big Tom, Tom the Third, father of former town council member, Tom. And then we have Ernie Boisvert, Vietnam. Oh, Tom was Navy, Korea, and he was on a ship that brought ammunition, sounds scary to me, to the soldiers. And then Ernie Boisvert, boots on the ground, combat, Vietnam, Purple Heart, and it took him 40 years to get that Purple Heart. But it was the best thing in the world. It was a highlight. And Ernie Boisvert is tough as they come, combat Army veteran. And when he got his quilt, there were tears coming down. It was really awesome. It was really awesome. So that's Quilts of Valor. And talk about sense of purpose. As we get older, sometimes if you're not working anymore or whatever, for whatever reason, you lose your sense of purpose, and that's not a good thing. So this gave a sense of purpose to lots of people. And if you look at those designs, see those designs? I was pretty good at that. But that's brain aerobics. It's like making a puzzle, so it keeps your brain moving quickly and sharp. So that's our Quilts of Valor, and they're after me to get it going again, so I said, wait till after Thanksgiving, and we will. But all of those things, all of these things are health promotion. Anything that makes our brain work, and we're together. And then, of course, we have all the exercise and dance classes, and that's learning something new. Especially like with the dance classes, they have a language all their own. You know, it's like learning a foreign language. Can we go next? And this is at Scouters. This one up in the corner, that's our gang in front of the fireplace. And here we're doing a conga line, and they're doing Zumba. And that's Holly. Holly's been with us for a long time, and she loves it. And up in the top there where the instructor's laying on, that's Up With People. Up With People came in. They were with us for a while at Gus Ayotte there. So, you know, all of these things are good. Keeps the blood flowing. Next. And this is for tap class. Is that okay? That's a tap class. We started a tap class down at Gus Ayotte when it was still senior services. They got so good at it, they ruined the floor. So we had to make a dance room, and that's what we did. But they got really, really good at it. This is just a few of them. It's usually a bigger class. And if you'll look over there, these tappers with the big hats and everything, they're the opening act, and some of these tappers were on a cruise. They went on a cruise. They entertained at Autumn Fest. They got to be really good at it. So go ahead. And water aerobics. No, we don't have a pool, but we've partnered with, collaborated with. We started with the Rhode Island Athletic Club, and then now it's YMCA that we're partnering with to do water aerobics. Next. And chair yoga, everybody's got chair yoga, but we have other groups too. We have Keep Moving, we have Forever Fit, Sit Fit, Be Strong. But sadly, all of these exercises came to a close as well with pandemic. And that's when we ended up having to, we went Zoom and YouTube, and it was struggle for all of us. We really didn't know what we were doing, and a lot of the people didn't have access. That's why we tried with the YouTube. But we did exercise classes, we did art classes, we did mindful meditation. We started doing robocalls, we did wellness checks, things like that. But it was tough times. But we got through it, and we started opening up gradually and cautiously with all the COVID restrictions that we were supposed to have. Next. And so intergenerational events, very important as we get older, and we've had many, many, many groups that we work with. But this particular group right here is the Harris School in Woonsocket. And we always knew when they arrived because they walked from Harris School down to the senior center singing "It's a Grand Old Flag." And they came for Flag Day on June 14th. And you know, if you've never seen a Flag Day folding ceremony, it's a very solemn event. And look at the faces on these little ones. They were just so intense. We had 6 students and 6 veterans. But before we did the folding, there they are up in the corner with their flags. We gave them all a flag, and they said, "Can we keep it?" "Yeah, you can." And they did a whole 15 minutes or so on flag etiquette, the proper ways to handle it. Because, you know, it saddens me sometimes when I see what people do with flags. Then that's how we started with them, and then it morphed into Halloween, and then we have Christmas parties. And all different things. But we also work with the Beacon Charter School, URI, Rhode Island College. I precept a senior nursing student, one every semester. And she does a lot of education, and she does interaction with all the seniors. She took the TAP class. And this year, because they usually have to do a presentation, and she couldn't go to a community room, they were all closed, so I brought her on my TV show. And she did it there, and she did a great job, intergenerational. And then senior prom. Why did I do a senior prom? Well, I have to tell you, so many of the older seniors never got to go to a prom because the guys were in World War II, so they went out there. Or they grew up in the Depression, and the money was spent for a roof over your head, food and clothes, and that's about it, nothing frivolous like a prom. And then the queen of the prom that year had to leave school, that is, to work to help support her family. But even as we went up through the ages, we found that, one woman said to me, "I couldn't go to prom, my boyfriend was in Vietnam." So I wanted them to have a prom experience, so we did. We had a live band, and that was reminiscent therapy for them because, you know, they played all the big band stuff, and it was really cool. But they had a corsage, we had senior pictures, and a good time was had by all. We also, what you see there is a fashion show, Generations of Beauty. We have a sock hop that we had, a luau, and all kinds of things that we have. And all of these things get people together, gets them moving, and they're laughing and having a good time. Next. Okay, with RSVP, we also do a lot with veterans and military families. I was pleased to hear the young lady talk about Operation Stand Down, but several years we did clothing drive for Operation Stand Down, and a lot of our seniors volunteered to help us size and fold the clothes and then bring them to the encampment in Cumberland. We've also done the coats and food for veterans, and last year and this year, because we could not have a veterans dinner, we did gift cards to the local restaurants. This year we did Village Haven, Barbara's Diner, George's, and Missy's. And up there you see Father Phil Sauer, Silver Star recipient, Leo, and then that's Ken, and that's his service dog, Fiona. And oh, by the way, one year, Ken and Fiona were awarded a Quilt of Valor by, not our group, but by somebody else. Fiona she's a star. We usually say hello to Fiona before we say hi to Ken. But yeah, that's our guys. And one of our signature events, one of the best things we've ever done, and we've done about 7 of them now, huh, Linda? A lot. Veterans Annual Dinner. It's the most solemn. We have about 200 people there. We start with the military medley by Company B's, and for those young people, maybe your parents talked about them, but they're the Andrew Sister Tribute Group, and they sang things like, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, Company B's. They used to entertain in the USO shows during World War II. So we start with the military medley, and with each anthem, the appropriate military person brings the flag up. And I can tell you that every one of these, we have nursing homes that bring their veterans down. We usually have about 3 tables. And they might come in a wheelchair or with a walker. And when their anthem is played, they stand up, struggle, but they stand up and salute and stand while their whole anthem is played. It touches your heart. We also do a military table, a missing man table up here in the corner. That was started with the Vietnam War when they came back, and so many of their comrades didn't come back. They were either prisoners of war or missing in action. So we do that, and everything on that table is symbolic. Like the red rose is the blood that was shed, the yellow ribbon that the family never gives up waiting for them to come home. We have salt, a lemon for the bittersweet for those that are prisoners of war. And we have the inverted champagne flute for those that can no longer be there. But then we did give the quilts of valor, and there's Big Tom up there in the corner with his quilt. And Glenn Dusenblock comes over from the museum military museum with a display. We had a piper playing Amazing Grace. And up there you see Kasim Yarn, and he's sitting there with Rita Murphy from Congressman Cicilline's office, and he said, if you want to know how your veterans are doing, look to the senior centers. And he looked at me, and he's 6'3", 4, 5 tall, real big, and he was standing at the podium, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, good work, keep up the work that you're doing. I said, okay. But right now, the Korean War veterans meet at Gloucester Senior Center. The Vietnam veterans meet at the Lincoln Senior Center, but the Vietnam vets are our buddies. They come to everything that we do. But this is a signature event. It's, I think, one of the best things that we do. And, there's Fiona. There's Fiona. She comes to everything. And sadly, for the past 2 years, pandemic didn't let us do that, so that's that. But anyways. And so I leave you with this. The presence or absence of a senior center speaks volumes about a town. What's he saying about us? Thank you for your kind attention. I hope I didn't ramble on too much for you. Thank you.
Linda, before you go, does anybody have any questions for Linda? Questions, comments?
You know what I wanted one thing I did forget. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're going to beat me to it, like you usually do.
No, there was one more thing I forgot. You know how I said that Aging Well has been providing all of the programming at Scouters, and that's through a CARES Act, right, Linda? And that money, every year, money is given out to the municipalities to be used for their senior center. We don't have one. And so they gave it to Aging Well because they know we already have a presence here. And that's how we were able to provide all the, we actually doubled what we used to do. We used to have 3 classes, and this, I wrote it down and I forgot to say it. And so we doubled what we've done, and we actually had 1,453 visits duplicated and 223 unduplicated. So that's a lot of people. A lot of people. That's a lot, huh, Kathy? Yeah, that's a lot. So that's it.
I do have something to add. For those of you that sat in council meetings over the years in those cold, folding metal chairs, how your back's feeling. You have a very supportive back on those chairs, very comfortable seat to sit in. That's all compliments of Linda Tebow and Aging Well. So they provided, there's pretty much the same amount over at Scouters Hall also. So they've been doing things to help us, and they really don't get the accolades for it. But I appreciate it, and now you folks appreciate it, from the bottom of your tushies.
Well, we started doing that because we were afraid of the rickety chairs there.
Yep.
Some of the sit and fit exercise classes, you know, they could fall. So we needed they were rusty buckets. They really were terrible, but you got new chairs over there too. But anyways, thank you. I forgot.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And I said enough anyways, so you can go on with your meeting.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? So there's definitely a need for a senior center in North Smithfield.
Yeah, but did you ever realize all that can go on? And that's just not even all. That all that goes on.
And if we had our place, if we would have ended up with the school, we would have all that.
Yeah, we would, yes, we would.
People under the senior center for these, that's my
I'm telling you, we really,
for like 15 years. It's gonna be called Linda Tebow.
Oh, no.
we thought we were there. We did, right? We thought we were there, and then we ended up having problems with the building, with asbestos and all that other stuff, so.
Well, I think if we could have more access, you know, and like right now, Linda, we're funded with this CARES Act, with this robust schedule that we have until March. And then we're gonna have to regroup and figure it out. Funding, we've gotta figure it out. We have to figure it out. But, you know, actually, Scouters could work. It's just like we don't exist though there. We're guests, you know?
Yeah, you want a place of your own,
Yeah.
and you deserve it.
Yeah. During the day. I
Yeah.
don't care what they do at night.
So-
We do care.
Mr. President, I've talking to Administrator Tebow about this. We're in the process of installing internet access over there, so when they want to come with their tablets, they'll be able to bring us into the year 1995, maybe?
Well, yeah, there you go. But, you know, I think the point when I keep saying, you know, they approach us, and there's no reason that they can't approach us to do the same here. Because, you know, this is part of our catchment area, and they know what we do, and so easily, like the AAA class, we did it in Woonsocket, we did it, and it was just as successful, if not more, because we had a bigger room. Here at Scouters.
Yeah.
So we can do a lot with Scouters, we can.
I know some people don't want to think of it. We have a beautiful building next door that's handicap accessible and could be utilized a lot more for seniors. It really could.
The Grange, you mean?
It's too small.
It's better than nothing right now until we can get the
Yeah,
big
no,
one.
yeah.
I'll take the little ones.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move on to the payment of bills, so I don't know if you guys wanna, if you don't wanna stick around and listen to that, then we'll give you a couple of minutes.
You know, thank you for giving us the time.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
See us like, ladies.
We're gonna move on now. We're gonna move up to discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. If you pull the bills out of your packet, if anybody has any bills that they would like, anything they would like to discuss on the invoices. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment of bills in the total amount of $2,592,900. $542,910.27, with the total ACH payments being $2,277,303.07.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Now, if you look at number 5, proposed amendment to the North Smithfield zoning ordinance map. Mr. Igliozzi, help me walk through this. Apparently, there was no application that was, the process is that the homeowner would present an application to the town council. Then at that point, the council would then refer that application to the planning board for their approval to come back to the council.
For recommendation.
For recommendation, right.
Then you have a public hearing after that.
We skipped we skipped a step there, right?
According to the evidence we have, we don't have any application on file.
But would this letter right here from the Historic Commission qualify as an application?
But not by the owner unless the owner signed it.
Okay.
You know, council can certainly.
Mr. President,
Mr. Vadney?
question for the solicitor. The homeowner isn't seeking to make a historic district. The Historic District Commission is looking to make a historic district. In this case, it is only one resident, which is only one building, which is allowed under the ordinance. So it wouldn't be the resident that's asking for the historic district. It's the Historic District Commission, which is seeking to create a historic district.
Well, when you create a historic district involving my property, you need my permission before you put the application in. And if I'm the homeowner and you're doing it without my permission, I would have recourse against you. So my advice would be applicant should be signed by the homeowner. It's being drawn around their house. And I met with my advice on September 9th, and it's still my advice today.
When they did the historic district in Slatersville, they didn't get all of the homeowners in that area to sign off on it.
That was a massive historic district. This is for the benefit of one person. This is so one person can file for historic relief. Right?
Well, this is also preserved, an old building that's for the town.
I understand. You asked me why they should sign it, but it's still the first stop is to come here, and then it gets referred to the planning board. I just don't know how the planning board acted on this. They don't have any power to make a decision or a recommendation on a zoning application unless it's been sent to this council for a recommendation. Seems like it's the process in reverse of the way you're supposed to amend it. And I think I made that pretty clear on September 9th.
So why don't we do this? We'll continue this to a date certain, and that way we don't have to advertise for a public hearing again. Okay? So why don't you give us a date? And then hopefully in the meantime, would it be possible to get a letter or just a written letter of approval from the homeowner?
Yes, I have no issues with that.
I would approve of it, but I would not apply for it because I am not doing it for my particular benefit. I'm doing it for the town's benefit.
Right.
Mrs. Nebiger, if you could you come up to the podium? And I know who you are, but there were some folks here that might not. Just state for your name for the record, please, just for us, if you would.
Irene Nebiker, 28 Grange Road. I have not applied for this, but I feel that the house, the structure itself, is what is important to the town. I have lived in the building for 54 years. I know its oddments and all the other things about it. And I have never applied for historic funding because I was connected with the Historic District Commission in town here for 30 years or more. And my former husband was on the State Historic Planning Commission. So nothing would have been ethical about applying for stuff at that time. But he's been dead since 2013. I've been off the commission for over 10 years, so I think it might be possible ethically to apply. What I really would like to get would be some preservation funds, because the house does go back to, our land dates are about 1704, but it was there before that. And it was a Maori house, and North Smithfield was a Maori town since 1666. So if we can tie things in with that and keep some of that heritage going, why not? But it's
I don't
not
think
for
any-
my particular benefit.
Yeah, nobody up here disagrees, I don't think. It's just that we're
Okay.
just trying to, it's a procedural matter more than anything else. It's not that they disagree with you whatsoever.
Well, I just want to make plain that I am not doing it for personal benefit,
Right.
but to protect the house so that the town has a building from its earliest years.
Okay,
That's all.
we appreciate that, thank you.
Mrs. Nevica, anyone that knows you, had you in school, et cetera, knows your love for history, knows the way you've adopted this town as your own, and anything you do, you put in service. Thank you, Mrs. O'Hara.
Just treat it as a first reading and continue the public hearing to a date certain.
Okay,
And then you can have a public hearing and a second reading on that date certain. Couldn't act on it tonight anyway.
yeah, perfect, all right.
It's only a first reading.
So we'll do a first reading tonight.
Mr. President, I just have a question, maybe more directed at the solicitor. Do you want me to-
Yeah, could you?
Jeff Harris, 97 St. Paul Street, Chairman of the Historic District Commission. My question resolves to Mr. Igliozzi is, you made mention that September 9th, you had a ruling on that. I was never aware that, because as soon as I would have got that, I would have turned right around and had her give some kind of formal signature or something, so we wouldn't be standing here wasting our time right now. So I'm not
I don't
aware
think
of
you're
how that.
wasting I don't think you're wasting any time. The council can't do anything tonight anyway. It's only first reading there. The charter says you can only,
I know, but we're going through the rigmarole of this procedural business, which I'm okay. It's fine that that this way, I never received communication on that, and I would have made that aware, and we would have been already on our way.
Jeff, we would have had to have a first reading anyway. And then we can
understand.
schedule the public hearing, we can just continue it now to the second reading.
Yeah.
So it's still gonna happen in the same time frame. Okay, okay, thanks.
Why don't you give him a copy? You want a copy?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
This already went to the planning board. Does that have to go to the planning board again?
No,
we won't be redundant. I would.
no, it
At this
doesn't,
point, we'll just clean up the procedure.
yeah, we just, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Harris. Sent to you on September 9th.
Okay, we're good? So we're not gonna, that was just a first reading, we're not gonna take any action on that.
Well, just for the record, this is the first reading on that.
Correct.
On that amendment. We need a date certain to get it voted
Yeah.
to continue.
Joanne, did you wanna give us a date?
For the next meeting, December 6th.
There was something going on that meeting.
What date?
Skiing
December
night, isn't
6th.
it? Is that skiing?
No, that's not till January. Yeah, we can get that in. Yeah, I think we can do that. Get this going.
Does the public hearing, David, need to be advertised, or it's already been
No, it's
advertised?
been advertised.
It's already been
It's gonna
advertised.
be a date certain.
Okay.
My understanding it's been advertised, correct? Don't wanna spend the money twice.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on then. Amendment to Code of Ordinance, Chapter 6, Article 1, Section 6-3.13, entitled Historic Residence Tax Credit. We'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we open a public hearing in regards to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Article 1, Section 6-3.13, entitled Historic Residence Tax Credit.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Is there anybody out here that would like to be heard on this matter?
Jeff Harris, 97 St. Paul Street. Before I go any further, Mr. Igliosi, I see your point here. I misread that, so I apologize. Anyway, for the historic residence tax credit, this came already before the council.
Yeah.
And this is merely just making an amendment to, I think there were 3 or 4 changes in the original that went through the state legislature, was approved, and now it's coming back to the council for your approval. One of the biggest changes was, instead of having the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission be the authority having jurisdiction, it is moved to the local level as the North Smithfield Historic District Commission. I'm going to entertain any questions you guys might have on this.
I did have something.
Well, this started with the previous council where
Okay.
they approach us and we changed our ordinance and then we petitioned to the General Assembly with enabling legislation to switch over that, whoever had authority over this from Rhode Island board to a North Smithfield board. And they did that, and so now we're amending the ordinance that we added to reflect that change. We went over that at the first reading. It just, now the formality is the public hearing, if someone was against it or in favor of it, and then we can just vote on a second reading, unless we want to make any changes to it, but I don't see us making any changes to it. It's exactly what we asked for.
All right, anybody have any questions for Mr. Harris? Thanks, Jeff.
As far as everything else goes, the guts of the program and everything else is in process, shall we say. I'll be meeting with the tax assessor tomorrow morning, and we're going over, we gotta put our heads together and really grasp what this program is involved, so.
Okay,
That's coming down.
thanks. And on December 6th, we're going to finish up that other matter. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the second
Close
reading?
the public hearing.
Oh, thank you, Paul. We'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Now, do we have entertain a motion to approve the amendment for the Chapter 6, Article 1, Section 6.3-13?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the adoption of the amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Article 1, Finance and Taxation, amending Section 6-3.13, Historic Residence Tax Credit.
That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thanks. Now, if you look at number 7, that could be quite lengthy, so what I would like to do is I would like to get the other business out of the way, and then we can move on to the license approvals. So that way there we can, if some people are here for other matters, we can get them moved up, because this could be, if I have to read all these, that could end up taking some time. So we're going to move on to discussion by council vote or other action on the consent agenda. All items listed in this section are considered in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a councilor so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Would anyone like anything removed from the consent agenda for discussion at this time?
Mr. President, could we remove the minutes of October 18th, 2021?
Okay. We remove the minutes of October 18th, 2021. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, minus the minutes of October 18th, 2021.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Vadney?
Yeah, just maybe I missed something, but on the second page at the bottom, Code of Ordinance, Chapter 8, Article 7, Section 8-12, motorized vehicles, ATV off-road vehicles. It says this item was tabled to November 1st. Wasn't it actually a first reading? We did first reading so we could have the public hearing on that date, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't tabled, it was just first reading, and no action was taken. It was just, am I correct?
Yeah, it wasn't tabled.
Huh?
It wasn't
No,
tabled.
it was just first reading.
Correct, yeah. Is that it?
That was it.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes of October 18th, 2021,
As amended.
as amended.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Old business, discussion by council vote or other action on update of municipal building review task force. Mr. Nordstrom, he was in here.
Yeah, he was here. He had nothing on the,
We have a meeting.
we got a meeting
We
Wednesday,
have a
so.
public meeting on Wednesday,
Right,
so
so.
I'm sure that'll be very interesting. Okay, so moving on, discussion by council vote or other action, update of Hollowell Review Committee. Mr. Corvo, do you have anything?
We do not have anything at this time to report.
Okay. We already took care of new business A. Discussion by council vote or other action on abatements. Mrs. St. George?
Hello. I have Jennifer St. George, tax assessor for the town of North Smithfield. I have amount of $5,178.81.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on these amendments? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the abatement report issued by the tax assessor in the amount of $5,178.81.
It's a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Did you want to continue?
Oh, no, I'm waiting for the next one. I'll be
Yeah.
right here for the next one.
Okay, so moving on to the penalty adjustments.
Oh. No, the senior,
Well-
the veteran and exemptions.
Okay, we just, all right.
Yes, C, I believe is next on the agenda, Mr. President. Do you mind if I approach the,
But what about,
You still have to do the adjustments.
still have to do the,
There's no paperwork on the next item, but it's, yes, no.
had this fresh as of 3:30 this afternoon, updating it.
all right, so we're gonna move on to C then, correct?
Sure.
All right. Discussion by council vote or other action on review of tax exemptions for senior citizen veterans, widows of veterans, 100% disabled veterans, and Gold Star parents.
Mr. President, council members, roughly at about 3:30 this afternoon, we were making sure we had the most fresh information before you to present to. You'll see it's a spreadsheet that lists some towns, Barberville, Cumberland, Clark, Lincoln, Smithfield, and Socket. Gives you the population of those communities. veteran, Gold Star parents, prisoner of war. Now, if you go down, you'll see down there's an average of 7. Those 7 communities. Veterans amount for tax exemption out of those 7 communities is $196 a year. Go down a couple of lines. North Smithfield provides our veterans with $45.50 a year. It's atrocious. It's a travesty. So if you take a look at the 100% disabled veterans, you can see the 7 communities. You can go down, and you can see that it's an average of $357.30 exemptions granted to their, not granted, acknowledgement of the veterans' sacrifices. North Smithfield, $91. Gold Star, $167.92 for an average of the 7 communities. North Smithfield's $136.50. Then you can look at prisoner of war if you want to follow it down. Now, some of this starts to get a little bit more complicated. We could just do an amount, but some communities do an amount plus a percentage of the assessment. So if you go down, you can take a look at the average of the 7. It's a little bit, it's hard to follow, so I'm going to ask the tax assessor, Ms. St. George, to explain that to us. Do you mind, Jennifer?
The prisoner of war.
Yes, please.
So with the prisoner of war, it's an assessment value. So we give right now $15,000 off the assessment, and with the tax rate, it comes to about $200 off their taxes. And it looks like other cities and towns around, Foster doesn't have a prisoner of war, but the rest of the towns, they do it off assessment. So in that column, it'll say, like Barrowville is, their tax rate is different, so it's $900 off their taxes, but it's $15,000 off their assessment. Cumberland, it's $45,767 off their assessment. Gloucester is $15,000 off their assessment. Lincoln is $11,000. Smithfield is $15,000. And Woonsocket doesn't have one.
So why this is before, of course, we have senior citizens too, which you can see it's a certain percentage of their assessment as well. Why this is before you, I want to make sure that there's enthusiasm on the council's part before I bring this to the budget committee to start looking at so we can means test this. But if you look at what the town of North Smithfield recognize our veterans, it's very inadequate. So we'll have to, of course, budget season's coming up now. It's the ideal time to take a look at this. So with the indulgence of council, this is just the first blush to let you folks know where I'm going to go with it next.
And we only have, right now, we only have 480 veterans that have this exemption. Just know they most likely will start to come in once they hear about it too. So there's that in effect of the budget, but we don't have that many veterans.
I'm curious, how did this, because this is a great catch. I mean, how'd you figure this out? Like, why'd this come to your attention?
Looking at the last budget season, my first pull at the wheel, I started thinking, well, we heard Administrator Tebow talk about aging well. And, you know, sometimes a little financial help can help a veteran stay in their home. This could be something that could, $100, $200 improvement, could be something that could help them maybe turn the thermostat up from 66 to 67 this winter. Excuse me, after the next budget cycle. But it's more in recognizing, and you know what, we don't have to just come to parity with the rest of the communities. Maybe we lead the way for once.
I agree.
Maybe we lead the way.
Yeah, and I just want to commend you for figuring this out and coming forward with it, because this is, there's not a lot more things more important than something like this. That's a great job, Administrator.
I appreciate it, Mr. President. Mr. McMillan, the commander of the VFW post is here. Do you mind if Farrell has any words to share with us?
Yes, Farrell McMillan, I'm post commander
ceremony we had over here at Scouters Hall. It was a huge event, well attended. We had the scouts there, they did the posting the colors and then retiring the colors. We try to keep the young people involved also to know what the veterans do. We had about 11 life members, veterans there. Mr. Tom McGee was there. And a well-attended event. We had Representative Paulette Hamilton from the governor's office. We had Tom Polino represented. And of course, we had the town administrator. And afterwards, Paul and I were talking to some of the other veterans, and he brought this up, and of course, I fully support any help for veterans. We are dwindling. You know, we're down now into Korea and Vietnam vets. We don't have many World War II vets around. But it's nice to be recognized, other than you get a free cup of coffee on Veterans Day at Dunkin' Donuts or something. You know, it's not a lot of perks we're asking for. We like to just be honored and go from there. So I fully support what Mr. Lewinsky is doing.
Yeah, I think it's great that he's doing this too.
Yes.
He's got my support 100%, and I think everybody else on the council as well.
Absolutely. And from this time on, I think we have more veterans that are now qualifying for 100% disability caused in Vietnam during Agent Orange, and they're working hard, and some are helping others. I've seen it in my neighborhood, worked all their lives, and right now are fragile, very fragile. So whatever we can do, we've got to start now.
While we're on it though, another question. You talked about means testing. Is that, I mean, it's really not that mean. Should we really be means?
No, but that's one of the buzzwords that someone who may have an, take exception to this will throw at us. So means testing, are they truly veterans?
That's fine, right.
Yeah, you know, they'd have to show us a discharge, or they have their records from the military. It's simple things like that.
Not a financially means testing
No,
program. There's
no.
No.
No, I may have used the wrong term, Mr. President,
Okay.
but just to make sure, what is it?
Qualification.
Qualifications, thank you, Solicitor.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure the qualifications are there.
All right. Thank you.
They just need their license and their discharge paperwork, and we go off the state law that has the dates. So we match their DD 214 to the state law, and that suggests if they're qualified or not.
Okay. Thank you. Great job.
But they need to know about these programs.
I'm sorry?
They need to know about these programs because they need to apply for them. They're not just, we can't just give them out. They need to apply for them, and that's what Ms. St. George is talking about. I went through this with my dad because for whatever reason, records got lost, and we had to update all of our records a couple years ago. And so they have to submit, and most veterans keep that paperwork.
Exactly. And you do have a veteran advisor here at the town of Smithfield, Linda's husband, Dave Debo, and he should be the one contacting veterans, you know, all these qualifications that you're talking about, you know, to make sure you put in for the correct amount.
Yeah,
I want you to kind of push this on the budget committee. They've been understaffed for too long. Let's give them a little overstaffed this time, not the medium.
yeah, to reiterate, why don't we be the benchmark for other communities for once?
Absolutely.
You know?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So we're gonna go back right now to, oh no. Oh no, here we go. Discussion by council, what other action on penalty and tax adjustments? Mr. Jesus.
I'm asking the council to adjust penalties in the amount of $1,172.45 for accounts that are currently with the collection agency and are over 6 years old.
Mr. President, based on the recommendation of the finance director, I make a motion that we approve the penalty adjustments in the amount of $1,172.45.
It's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 I'm asking for tax adjustments for taxpayers that have been deceased in the amount of $9,076.85.
So, all these people are deceased, so they can't pay the taxes, but they can vote? That's
They
a
can
joke.
vote?
That's a joke.
Oh. Don't, I'm like, really? I don't get the joke, but okay.
The administrator gets it.
Okay, sorry.
You get it.
I get it.
Okay, that was just a joke, sorry. So let's move on.
You better not quit his day job.
What's that?
Don't quit your day job.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. President,
Ms. Alves?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the tax adjustments per the finance director in the amount of $9,076.85.
That's a motion. We have a second on that.
Second for discussion.
Mr. Vadney?
Mr. Jesus? Is this
Yes.
like the end of this list? Because we've been seeing,
No, to be honest with you, there's still quite a bit of money out there. I had sent them over $1 million, if you remember in the beginning. They've collected about $250,000, and we've abated about 50 to 60,000. So there's still a long way to go.
and that is included, that, I'm just looking at this
Mhm.
tax adjustment thing, because every month it's like we get a page of these things, and in my mind, I'm just trying to figure out, there has to be a way that it doesn't accumulate and go on, that if someone passes away, that this thing doesn't sit there for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 11 years.
Correct, we put something in place already for
That
that.
we need to do
Mhm.
something. I look at it that the heirs should be responsible for this. It just can't go by the,
Yeah,
you can't just say, hey, I'm not paying these bills. My mother died and I'm not paying these bills anymore. And then 3, 4, 5 years from now, the town writes it off. Oh, they're deceased, we can't get the money from them. It's like, there has to be a way that we don't lose, they were around at the time. And,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? And
It's-
that, yeah, it doesn't catch up for whatever reason, because the DMV, they're behind, because
Mhm.
you renew your license, or you renew the registration, and then you die right away, and so it waits 2 years before your registration comes due, and then they say, oh, you haven't paid
That
your
person's
taxes.
dead, yeah.
Haven't paid your taxes, you can't renew your registration, and then it goes into the database. That, there has to be some other way that kicks us off, that we're not losing that advantage. It's like, we're at a
I
disadvantage
mean,
here.
if we want to hire a lawyer and try to pursue the heirs, I mean, is it really worth it for
Well, no,
a few
but I'm just saying,
$100s?
no, I'm just saying, though,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's building up quick.
Well, we also went back, 10 years.
Yeah.
We're going back 10 years.
I know, that's-
Of accumulated tax collection. So, once we clean up these 10 years, this won't happen again, obviously, but it's just a process that we're
But
gonna
you'll
keep going.
see, you'll see a list every couple of years then, probably.
Well,
Just
now
not,
we
just
have,
not going back to 2009.
well, now we have a process that we will look at the Excel. We have, we coordinated with Joanne where she has all the death certificates in an Excel spreadsheet, and we are looking at that. Jen looks at obituaries to make sure nobody's deceased that owns a business and so forth. So we have policies and procedures in place, but unfortunately, 10 years ago, we did not. So
Okay.
that's the unfortunate part. But this will be cleaned up, hopefully.
Right. And that makes me feel a little better, that we've
Yeah.
got procedures in place so we don't keep going through this.
Right,
'cause-
right.
So,
And we are collecting. That's, we are collecting. There are people that want to pay.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, we are collecting. We have
Yeah.
people calling us from New York, Florida, that moved to North Carolina, and they want to pay.
Mhm.
And they do pay. But that's where the penalty adjustments comes in.
Yeah, well, I
Do
see,
you know what I mean?
I
So-
see that, but the other ones is.
But the
just-
deceased ones just
Yeah,
gets
it's
me.
just-
Every month I have like a list of this many
Okay.
people that have passed away, and it amazes me of how we never get notified.
Yeah, okay.
So I just have a question. So when did the system start going into place? In 2020?
or 2019?
We sent the file, I believe, to the collection agency in March or May of this year.
Of this year.
They've been doing a phenomenal job.
No, I guess what, maybe I didn't phrase it. The systems that you and Joanne have in place with the Excel spreadsheet, when did that actually start?
Oh, just recently, I just asked what would be the best way of me finding out somebody passed away, and they have an Excel spreadsheet
Okay.
in their drive that they keep updated. But still, it's hard to, keep that. But between all of us, we're kind of all working together trying to clean that up.
Okay.
Anything
I
else?
don't fault this administration or any really, it's just one of those things that just kind of like falls through the crack and is building up, and now you're trying to clean up the books.
I'm trying to clean them up before we get the new
Right.
system.
At the auditor's suggestion, that we need to clean this up and get rid of this stuff and cut it loose and stuff, and we're going through that process, but just frustrating that we let it go that long, that it built up such a volume of
Yeah,
stuff.
certainly don't want to fault this administration, but it started this year to try to clean this all up,
So
so.
it goes back to 2009, at least, some of this stuff, so.
Anything else? Anybody? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. And so I will call roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. A discussion by council, vote or other action on proposal for professional engineering services for the Maury Hill Fire Tower for Park Corporation. Mr. Pendergast?
Good evening. Just get my paperwork here. You should have a proposal from Park Corporation for professional engineering services to evaluate the condition of the town-owned Maury Hill Fire Tower located off of Woonsocket Hill Road. The cost of the evaluation is $5,090. We'll be exercising the State of Rhode Island MPA 584 to cover this cost. I'm looking for your approval and to give the administrator approval to sign this proposal to PAR.
Mr. President,
Mr. Vadeney?
based on the recommendation of the Director of Public Works, I recommend that we award a contract to Park Corporation for engineering services to evaluate the condition of Maury Hill Fire Tower at the cost of $5,090, plus any other expenses that they hit that are not, there are expendables that are not included in that they may have.
Thank you.
And authorize the administrator to sign it.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Roll
Thank you
call,
for-
please.
thank you for
Oh,
getting-
go ahead.
Thank you for getting this going, that, hopefully now in the spring, by the springtime comes around, we'll know what we need to do and where we need to go, and we may have enough money to do it, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. DeBrasi, you've been patient. I apologize, but I knew that this would probably, oh, no, hold, yeah,
I've got many years of experience in cities around.
okay.
He's very comfortable. It's my first time in here, and I appreciate it.
What do you think of that mural?
It's great.
Not that expensive for a mural. All right, so this was discussed last week, but it's back on the agenda. Discussion by council vote or other action on solid waste and recycling collection contract with MTG Disposal at High Rocks. This was last week. Mr. Pendergast presented it to the council, and there was an objection on Mr. Vadney's part to pay it as a result of that this was already voted on, discussed, and it did not. We were waiting, that if we were to approve it, we were going to be superseding the planning board, correct, Ms. Vadney?
That's my argument, correct.
And now, from what I understand, though, that's not the planning, it never went before the planning board in that, they never, correct, it never went before the.
It did go before the planning board. The developer did say that he would be responsible for trash removal. However, it is not a written stipulation in the ruling by the
Okay.
planning board. The solicitor and I disagree on this one, that I argue that the presentation was, he would do that. That was what was presented as part of the record. It should stand as part of the record. If he wants to change it, the developer needs to go back to the planning board and seek an amendment to the permitting process. And just for the record as well, that final agreement has not been concluded yet. It's still an open process right now. He still hasn't met those conditions that were set on him 15 years ago. He still hasn't met those conditions, and I understand we've taken some action, and he needs to take some action to rectify those things. But as of we sit here right now today, that decision has not been finalized, and he has not met the conditions that were set on him 15 years ago.
See, but my argument would be that regardless of whether the developer met the stipulations or not, the residents are kind of the ones that are paying the price, because they're paying the taxes, they're paying, just like everybody else in town. And the other condominium complexes in town get trash pickup. So the residents of High Rocks, they're not receiving the benefit of paying their taxes, the same benefits that other condominium owners are receiving.
But they knew that when they bought their condos, that trash removal was part of their expense. They knew that when they bought them. And I still haven't received, and I'm hoping now with the new planner on board, we had that gap, that now that Mr. Carullo is on board, we can get those rulings to find out what exactly happened at Laurel Woods, at Rock Cliff, at Silver Pines. Because no one has the records of those things. No one can get any confirmation of saying what was originally proposed, how did it ever get to the point that we were picking up trash on private property. No one can give me that. I've asked, the former town planner didn't get it. Maybe the new town planner can find it and we can get that information. But, I mean, I had the discussion with the solicitor. We respectfully disagree, and that's okay. That's how the world works. But I still think that until you have a final approval, which we don't have, we shouldn't be messing around with this. It's still, because he hasn't met the conditions that were set with him.
No.
And so it could go to the planning board, even though we've changed our ordinance to reflect that change. The planning board, in theory, could say no to it. They could say, no, this is what we imposed on you, and even though we've changed our ordinance, because we changed something that was done 15 years ago.
But we have jurisdiction to be able to vote and make a decision on this and not have to rely on the planning board. We don't have to go to the planning board for their approval. We can vote, we can decide this for ourselves.
We could vote to pick up the trash and pay for it. My argument is, the planning board had a restriction saying the developer was responsible for picking up the trash. And if the developer wants to go back to the planning board and get the planning board's permission to alter his permit that says the town will pick up his trash, then we can pick up his trash. But until, that's just my opinion. That's.
Okay. Yeah.
May I, Mr.
Yes,
President?
please.
I think everybody knows that I served on the planning board many moons ago, for many moons. I was on the planning board when Silver Pines was approved. I was on the planning board when Laurel Woods was approved. I was not on the planning board when High Rocks was approved. I will tell you that in both the previous condominium projects that I served to review, being Laurel Wood and Silver Pines, they had to pay for their own trash pickup, their own snow remediation, all that stuff, because they sought and received variances from the land development subdivision regulations of concrete sidewalks and granite curbs. There has always been a move at the state senate to provide condominium locations that the municipalities pick up the trash. They're paying their taxes, and my argument has always been, I didn't like that they received the waivers from the requirements of building the roads and the sidewalks. But personally, I always had a problem with them. These are mortgages. These people own homes. They are not leasing like we have over here at Slater Mill. And the first condominium complex to receive trash pickup on the curb was Silver Pines. Excuse me, the Silver Pines or Laurel Woods. I may have them out of order, but they both did. And if you read the regulations in town, it says curbside or designated pickup place. Mr. Pendergast, is that correct? Do you have that?
Yep.
Okay.
And that would be That would be like Primacy Hill, where they have to drag
Well,
it
that's a
out.
private road. That's
Right,
totally
because-
different altogether.
Well, that's the designated place. They have to drag all their trash out to Pound Hill Road if they want it picked up by the
Sure.
town.
So if I may continue with this.
Could I just say,
Yeah.
the word's not, what's the word you guys just used? It's other specified locations.
Yeah,
is-
I
is-
thought
Is
it's-
what the ordinance says.
Yeah, okay.
And I have other locations that we pick up at. Schools, buildings. So it doesn't necessarily mean curbside. So
Right.
I have that authority through you
Yep.
to make that decision.
Right, and you know what, I'm granting you that authority, Mr. Pendergast. So to follow up on this, the question has been that did the planning board or would the planning board review that? Now, did everybody get this memo that was dated October 10th, 2019? It's a memorandum to Mr. Paul Vedney, Town Council President, from Gary Pilati, Planning Board Chairman. Do you all have that?
Mhm.
Okay. So I think that answered the question back then, that they were in support of picking up trash. They were not melding the issues of low to moderate income, or if I can remember, Council O'Hara and myself really tried to take the bull by the horns and get taxes, vehicle taxes, from these places. And we weren't met with a whole bunch of support. What, am I right, Councilor? So I think that these shouldn't muddy the waters. The planning board is saying, I'll quote, "The board did, however, vote unanimously, 5-0, to forward a positive recommendation of the town council, essentially asking if they'll consider the matter as a council." It's picking up trash, is what they're talking about. So that's what I interpret to be before you. Mr. Pendergast and I and Mr. DeBrey, we've had a lot of conversation. There's a designated location, am I using the right term, Mr. Pendergast? Specified location of a loading dock.
But I know also when it comes, it's still out of state park. They don't pay taxes. All these
I agree with you 100%. It was you and I was leading that charge, but this is about picking up,
hours, they're there.
but this is, if I may, just try to warn everybody that you can't hold that against them getting trash. I don't think it's right, but it's a council
No,
decision.
you're mixing two things up.
Well,
But it goes back to the advice that I was given last October by the solicitor and the town planner at the time, that it was behooved the developer to go back in the permitting process, not the homeowners. The homeowners had no standing before the planning board. It was the developers that needed to go back to the planning board, and they haven't done that.
There's been two developers. There was the original, I forget the gentleman's name, now, and of course, they're a limited liability, I get it. But there's been two developers. This is the second, I believe it's the second, I don't know if it's the third. Mike, is it?
Ray, do you mind? No, you gotta go up to the podium so the people that are watching can hear.
I'm Mike DeBryce, 1 Tupperware Drive, Unit 103. I'm one of the vice presidents on the residential board and the president of the master board. So geez, I already forgot what the question was.
Mike, I was asking you how many
Herb Ingram was
developers?
the original developer, Mr. Zelinski.
All right,
was it?
so,
Herb Ingram was the original developer that petitioned the council and said that they would pick up trash.
right, so you're asking for a developer that company was Blackstone Smithfield Corporation, which is now no longer around, to come back to do this. Are those parties still around? Yes. Is the original developer Blackstone Smithfield? No. The development turned over by Rhode Island condo laws to the residents as soon as he exceeded his 80% sold, and that's when we took over the property. Since then, our board has maintained the property and has continued, and that's when we approached the town on this one matter, when we started looking at our financials and looking at what we can look at, what we can cut, what we can get, what services we have, what services we don't. And I know I've approached the previous town council. We don't get trash removal, but we do get recycling, thank you very much. We don't get snow plowing, we don't get street lights. And we got maybe 4 students that go to school here, but yet we pay well over $500,000 in taxes, and we're more than willing to do that. We love the town, we love where we are. But to ask a past company that is no longer around to go. That's why we went to the planning board and we did exactly what the town council said. But you said the developer, there's no developer, it's us. So we went to the planning board, we argued our case, we argued the 2006 minutes that you keep referring to, that if you read through there, it says it was a meeting that shouldn't even be taking place because it wasn't advertised correctly, and it ended up being a informational purposes only. And the lawyer for the Blackstone Smithfield Corporation said they will do their own trash because it's a condo development. He automatically assumed because it was condo, it was their own trash. So there were no votes taken that night, and that meeting was never continued after '06.
You know, I would like to point out, though, Paul, smart guy, all right? I think he's 100% right in what he's talking about. I think Claire is 100% right with the things. But I'm just thinking about what's fair to the residents. And it seems that, like you said, they're paying their taxes, paying a lot of taxes, just like everybody else as a homeowner. What's fair, never mind, I think you're right, but what's fair for the residents is that we supply trash pickup.
And
That's
we
just my
did-
opinion.
And just for, because we were here, we did approach the vehicle stuff, and,
They
and
went down a lot, I'll give you
yes,
that.
because we sent out and we changed some of the restrictions on that. However, I went personally around, counted every car that had out-of-state plates, and then we went around and verified that at least half of them are registered to companies that people work for. So you can't do anything on those. On the other ones, as soon as these people been moving in, new residents, because we have them changed to Rhode Island and registered into North Smithfield.
David, I have a question for you then. If this property has, the developer no longer exists and the property has gone over to the homeowners, are they liable for the final solution that has not been met?
My understanding that process is underway. And we say final solution, you mean the council, we're changing the subject a little bit, but the council has authorized them to legalize their existing situation. It's my understanding that that there's an application being
yes.
filed, a combined
Yep.
application to amend the preliminary plan and a combined application with the final plan to make it legalized, because the council had to change your ordinance with regard to the minimum mandatory number of affordable units.
And
We voted on that.
who filed that?
They're gonna file. What Mr. DeBrois is saying is, and I think you're both saying something the same thing, is the previous developer of a condominium, under condominium law, remains control over the condominium. And under condominium law, when you get to a certain level of lack of control, the condominium association assumes all responsibility, and they would be, just like they're gonna file the application for the amendment, they're the ones, they are the developer from that point on. They're not the developer, but they're the responsible.
They're responsible party. So they were responsible for meeting the 10% affordable housing that wasn't met, not the developer.
Well, when you say that, when you say that, there's two issues, right? There is a developer there as well right now that owns some of the commercial property, who'd come before the planning board to try to expand, again, we're getting a little way off field, but try to expand the project, and that developer ran into the fact that there was no final plan approved, and there was an affordable component that was not complied with.
Right.
And that developer then, as a result of all the situation occurred, appeared to the council, through Mr. DeBrois, to the planning board, and you amended it to give them a clear way to legalize all these people who bought these units.
Potentially don't have a clear title.
Right, they potentially, and we're getting into legal aspect, but they
Right.
potentially, that's the reason why the council supported them, because why should you punish these residents?
I understand.
Who bought these individual units, and for whatever reason, nobody looked at the planning board record, but clear their title, make their units legal. And there's nothing you can do about the fact that there are no units to make affordable, all you have is homeowners now left, except for two, I think we have two or three.
Yeah, there was some rental properties that they've closed the rentals so they can sell them as
And
affordable.
we
Yes.
agreed, and they agreed, and the council approved, that those units have to be affordable. So that takes care of that, that's underway, So, yes, I guess in one sense, you're talking to a combined body. the association and whoever that developer is that came to expand, I think
They've-
he or she
they've
is a
changed-
member of your association or something?
They're
like
on the
that?
master board because they still
Master
own the commercial association. This is a very complex property.
Yeah, there's someone that overlords, and then there's a housing thing, and then there's the business piece of it,
Yes.
but someone overlords the whole thing.
You know, we're getting way far afield here, all right?
Way
Way off. Do we want to supply trash pickup for the residents, or don't we? Do you think it's fair that we do it? Do you not think it's fair that we do it? So, that's what we have in front of us right now.
And just to remind, in all this dialogue we've had, there was a memo October 10th, 2019, where the planning board voted unanimously that they were okay with the trash.
Yeah, so that's not an issue.
Excuse me, providing the service of trash removal.
Okay. Did you want to say anything more, Ray?
The only thing I'm going to say is, I'm here to have your approval for a contract amendment to the contract extension. I have nothing to do with all that other stuff.
Right.
But it all kind of falls into place. The council's opposed to the trash pickup, that's your decision. I feel that we should pick it up. They're taxpayers. I can designate that specified location to be picked up, similar to curbside picking. We've worked it out with the condo association and with the hauler.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
So I'm here asking that you approve the contract extension with this amendment, and to afford High Rocks condominiums at 1 Tupperware Drive trash pickup,
And to authorize.
and to authorize the administrator to sign.
Can I ask a question instead, and we can clarify this? Maybe I'm reaching out. But they do not have curbside, so we'll make an exception because they're taxpayers. Well, what stops businesses from saying, we're taxpayers?
Well, there's a different,
pickup
this is residential pickup.
Residential and commercial are different.
We-
Residential properties have to abide by recycling laws, commercial properties do not. They're on their own. If they want to recycle, that's great. If they don't, they don't. We can't force them. It gets back to state law, some of it. And that's why I say, the solicitor and I will respectfully disagree on this. I'm not going to support it because I don't think it's properly before us. It's just, in my opinion, I've stated it too many times maybe. It's just how it is. You can't compare commercial and residential. I get that part of it. They're different horses, and we have different regulations for it.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the contract that Mr. Pendergast is presenting to the council for trash pickup at High Rocks. And authorize the administrator to sign. That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
On the discussion, I
Yep.
think you need to be more specific and state that the town will be financially responsible only for the first $15,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard it. You want to see it, Mr. President?
Yeah, could you?
Yeah. So that's the difference, 2916, right? Town's gonna pay 15, which means 5,960 by the High Rocks Association to pick up. If it goes, and I gotta remember, that the year's almost over, halfway over, so.
Yeah, we won't hit that, but, now, this is a one-year agreement, correct?
The only thing that I'm asking for is an amendment to the contract extension that expires June 30th of '22.
And the extension was only till June.
Correct, correct.
So we may be looking at this all over again.
Well, I'll have to, that's a whole other discussion
I
on.
understand.
I have I have 2 more one-year options on the original contract. But I'm not sure, after speaking with the administrator, if we're going to stay with the same haul. That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, right, and so it's a whole different thing. But this is only till June 30 of 2022.
Correct.
Just so everyone's clear.
Is it possible to put into, I'm sorry, is it possible to put into the vote that if it's a positive, that it gets reevaluated? I know you mentioned that this is going to end in.
We don't have to do that. That would happen automatically. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so adding to the motion then would be that the town would only be responsible for the first $15,000, and that Hyrax would be responsible for $5,916 of that trash pickup. That's a yearly, so which would be prorated for the rest of the fiscal year. Would that cover it?
I believe it would, Mr. President.
Does that sound right, Ray?
We're responsible for the first $15,000.
Correct.
So this I probably won't put this in effect until December 1st. So you got 7 months at $1,743
So it'd be
a
prorated
month.
figure, right, okay.
But we're only responsible for the first 15.
Yeah, we just say
15.
If some guy bids and they already have numbers, and that's why he's looking to
All right.
amend it, but if some guy bid it and it was $30,000, we're only responsible for 15. That's the bottom line.
Right, I didn't mean to complicate matters. The town is responsible for the first $15,000 of the trash pickup. Okay, so do we have a motion? We have a,
You have a
Wait, and we
motion
ha-
and a second.
and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Mr. President, why don't you make sure the clerk has got the motion?
You got it? It's a little confusing.
Discussion.
Okay. Sorry about the confusion, Madam Clerk. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it?
License.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Where's my agenda? There we go.
By category, right? Victuating license, liquor, bill? Yeah, is that okay? I think so.
Okay, we're going to go back up to number 7. No, Smithfield Town Council sitting as a board of licensed commissioners. We've discussed several ways of possibly of doing this. One way is I could read every single one of them, and then we could vote individually. And I discussed this with Ms. Igliozzi, and you seem to think that we would have to, that would be the way to do it, unless
The council wanted to,
approve it in its entirety, based,
I would say by category and I would read the conditions that the clerk has stated, because it's my understanding that some of these licenses are still waiting the clarifying material, the clearing material, clarifying, I'm sorry. Are we looking at the same document, Mr. President? On the top of the liquor license renewal, the clerk took time to indicate that obviously to qualify, you need a letter of good standing from the Division of Taxation, you need payment of taxes, Department of Health approval, fire inspection, tip certification, and other fees paid. So those are conditions to all licenses, for anyone to get a license. And anything you take tonight, my understanding, the clerk has said, not everybody has all those items. So you should.
You need to have that disclaimer at the beginning of it.
At the beginning, that, and this is subject to and conditioned upon
Okay.
satisfying to the clerk those items. And then you could do it, I would probably, if the council wants, I would take a motion to do it by category.
okay.
And maybe you don't have to read each license, because I'm not seeing that there's, this is technically an opportunity for people to complain about a license opportunity. You're sitting as a board of licensing right now, just so they're clear. We're not sitting as a council, you're sitting as the Bureau of Licensing. Board of Licensing.
Jeff, do you have any objections to any of these licenses? No? Okay, so,
I don't know if that helps, but I think. if you
Yeah,
do that-
normally we read the corporation, at least, in what that group is. You don't have to read the whole, everything that's on that paperwork, but normally we go through like, Class A package store, North Smithfield Wine and Spirits, Inc., Park Square Wine and Spirits LLC. We at least mention those names as we go through the thing. We just don't say, based on this list, because it's a public document, you need to read all the people that are on the list. And so,
And
yeah,
any discussion or any reservations about it?
right.
And if there's not, you vote, you pass it to them and go to the next, if I may, Mr. President? And as the solicitor was saying, Class BV victuating license, you can, Blazing Wings, J&M Management, you name them all. And then is there any discussion or any reservations? And if there's none, you vote to do them all.
Right.
Subject to that disclaimer, though. That disclaimer is really important.
okay,
upfront.
I got you. Yeah, that's the way we'll do it then. All right? So let's begin. For the record, all licenses are subject to certificate of good standing, payment of town taxes, approval from Department of Health, insurance certificate, fire inspection, tip certification, and all fees paid. Okay, so moving to the first category, Class A package stores. North Smithfield Wine and Spirits and Park Square Wine and Spirits. Do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
We have a second? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Class BV, how do you say that? Victular. Blazing Wings Incorporated, J&M Management Services, LLC, Jonathan Branchard Incorporated, Cash Corp., Lindy's Tavern, Lucky Dog Tavern, TDM Enterprises, Texas Roadhouse Holdings, LLC, Toy Row Incorporated, VH Incorporated, and Yamafuji. Does anybody have any, anything on those?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve that list for Class B victualling licenses, pending the
Yeah, pending that all license, yeah.
Yep, the certifications.
Okay, that's a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Class BVL Victular Limited, ATM Development, and Beef Barn. Anybody have any objections to any of those? Motion to approve?
So moved.
And second, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Class D Club Full Privilege. The Frasetti Residence, North Smithfield Fly Fishing, Sales Hill Ride and Gun Club. Anybody have any objections?
Mr. President, make a motion to approve the Class D club full privilege as per the recommendations noted above.
It's a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Victualling licenses with extended hours, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and holiday sales. C and LNS LLC, Colbia Enterprises, Cumberland Farms, LM Takori, Park Donuts, Darling Village, James Lynch, Park Donuts, Slate Donuts, James Lynch, and Trinity Management Company, LLC. Anybody have any objections to those?
Mr. President, make a motion to approve the victualling licenses with extended hours, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., with the stipulations that all licenses are subject to payment of town taxes, approval from DOH, fire inspection, and all fees paid.
Thank you. Second, is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Victualling license with holiday sales. Diane Group LLC, GM Foods Incorporated, JSC Management Group LLC, the Stop and Shop Supermarket Company, Twab Banny, Walmart Stores, East LP, Wendy's Properties LLC, the Wendy's Company, and Wright's Dairy Farm, Ellen Pachetti. Anybody have any objections to any of those?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve that list for victualling licenses with holiday sales, with all licenses subject to payment of town taxes, approval from Department of Health, fire inspection, and all fees paid.
It's a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. A victualling license with theater. Rustic Acquisition LLC. Mas Benvenuto.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the victualling license with theater, with the above conditions stated.
We have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Victualling license only. Amanda DeSordi, Brianna Brownell, Budding Violet Incorporated, Sheila Coyne, Hercules and Family Incorporated. I'm not gonna try that name. Robert Brulard Jr., President, Stephen Palazzo, and Stephen Palazzo.
Mr. President, make a motion to approve the victualling licenses only, and all licenses subject to pay town taxes approved from DOH, fire inspection, and all fees paid.
It's a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Where's the thing? Oh, okay, I was looking for that thing, you know what I mean? Holiday sales renewal licenses only. Aldi, Augusto Incorporated, DV7 LLC, GNC Holdings, Harris Brothers Incorporated, iCase Depot LLC, Jason Nguyen, Keystone Novelties Distributors, Koa Tran, Kohl's Department Store, Leeway Incorporated, Lowe's Home Centers, Mattress Firm, Michael Pastana, Phantom Fireworks, Eastern Region, Quin Long Yi, Raymond J. Lozon, Redbox Automated Retail, Rhode Island CVS Pharmacy, RISMA, NSD LLC, Ruler Kali, The Ski Shop Plus, the Stop and Shop Supermarket Company, U-Haul Company of Rhode Island, Walgreens Eastern Company.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve all holiday sales renewal licenses only. All licenses are subject to payment of town taxes, fire inspection, and approval of all fees paid.
Second for discussion.
Mr. Vadeney?
Keystone Novelties and Phantom Fireworks. Why are we renewing those when normally they come and they
Yeah.
request those? I would be against granting that extension till they come in and see us to get another license on a yearly basis. I wouldn't automatically renew those. That would not be my wish.
So you want to, we can approve it. I would tend to agree with that, because we do those every year as they come before us, right around the 4th of July.
Well, not only that, but remember this year, we granted one location but not the other.
That's true, right, yeah.
I've not gone to a Red Box in years, so I don't even know why that's.
I think it's still up at Cumberland Farms.
I don't know.
It's at CVS and Stop and Shop.
Yeah, I know. Each his own, I guess.
Have you even used a DVD in?
I just threw mine out last week.
Your player?
My DVD player, yeah, it's done.
All right, so, where was that, Paul?
Amend the motion
I'll
then?
amend the
Yeah.
motion to approve all holiday sales renewal licenses only with the following stipulation of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid, with the exception of Keystone Novelties Distributors and Phantom Fireworks Eastern Region LLC.
Thank you.
And I'll second that amended.
Did you get all that, Joanne? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. General business license renewals. Kim DiConstanzo, Ruth Pacheco.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the license to board cats and dogs, subject to payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid.
Any, do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. A dry cleaning license. Thon Farm. We have a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the general business license for dry cleaners with the stipulation that all payment of taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees are paid.
That's a motion. We have a second?
Second, under discussion, that's the only dry cleaner that we have in town? Or is that the only one that needs to have a license? There's numerous places, but.
We have a kiosk, like at Slaysville Plaza. They don't do
Okay,
any
so
dry
they don't-
cleaning
Because
there.
they don't do it on site, they don't
Yeah,
need a
they-
license?
yeah,
Okay.
They don't do it on site.
They're not open Monday and Wednesday?
Right, so like George Taylor, George is up, they don't have on-site dry cleaning, but
They'll do it.
they'll send it
Right,
out.
they go down,
Right.
personal dry cleaning is right in the same plaza, but all these other places, because they don't do it on site, they don't need a license?
Right.
That's,
But wouldn't they need some sort of license?
they must need a business license, a business registration license that they get from the state, not necessarily from the
That's it,
town. And then they
nothing
pay
from
their
town.
tangible tax if they have tangible taxes and stuff, but I was just curious, because I'm saying that there's more than one dry cleaner in town.
Yeah, there is. And roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Flea market, Bernard J. Lambert. Have a motion to approve?
I have a question. Is that the one that used to be, a furniture store when it was originally built? Ethan
Yes,
Allen?
used to be Ethan Allen.
You know, I don't know what he's selling. It just looks like a bunch of junk in front of that place.
That's why it's a
And when
flea
you come down
market.
the highway, it looks awful.
It does.
I'm not voting for that.
Isn't that
There
what-
has to- He can't be making a
Where is
living from
that?
that.
It's near the ice rink, before the ice
It's right next to Frank Line.
It was a beautiful place at one time. And now,
One man's junk.
how is he living? Not on that junk that he's making from it. I've never seen a car there. I don't want it. It just, you come into northern Rhode Island in this junk city, think up for the car place.
That's not the only offender on 146.
Well, that's the other.
I know.
The big one is on the other side, but I didn't want to get there tonight.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the flea market for Bernard J. Lambert, subject to town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid.
That's a motion. We have a second on that one?
Second.
Second. I'll just, for discussion, I hear you, because I know what you're
It's
saying.
awful. You
but-
have to go inside and see what they're selling.
But maybe to us, maybe there's somebody, there's a, you know?
Have you ever seen a car that, in that place?
No, but I have seen furniture out front.
Huh?
They're not
No,
open every day.
sometimes they're open, sometimes it's just junk.
Maybe there
think
could
they
be a
just
little
open-
nugget in there. You never know.
They're just open on
Something
Saturday.
historic.
Yeah. You never know.
I'll tell you what, I'll go there tomorrow and check it out.
I think they're only open on Saturday. Yeah.
I'll go there on Saturday and check it out.
Good luck.
You wanna
They're
come?
open every time, I'll let you know.
See if you can get me a
Someone
dresser.
who's new, I don't know who can be in
Get
there.
Give me a dresser.
I wish we could do something really.
I think one of the caveats, one of the requirements is to pass fire inspection.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not just, we just don't grant
Where's
it.
all your sensors? How many do we need?
Well, it's got to pass, right?
Yeah,
It's got to pass.
pass.
the-
Oh,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, God.
My God. The chair was
See,
hot.
that's angry.
I mean, it's not for us to judge whether or not we like somebody's business or not, as long as it's
As long as he
legal.
meets all the requirements that we set.
Don't we have a junk requirement or something? We have all this junk. in-
That's junkyard. It's a few down.
Oh, my God.
All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
No. No.
Yes.
Yes. Hotel motel licenses. DR Motel Enterprises. Jalram LLC, VJ Solanki. Anybody have any objections to those?
Are we responsible for checking those places?
The police are always there.
They certainly are.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Who's really checking?
I can recall several councils ago, there was debate on, maybe pulling their operational licenses due to the amount of calls from the police.
That's right.
There's, drug use over there, there's a number of things, but that's not before you tonight, the license.
Don't,
You can't.
can we get the fire department and say, check it? Can we just go for routine check, just,
I can tell you that I've been privy to listen to some voice messages that comes into the building inspector about the conditions over there.
oh, I
Now,
got
you can
students there.
understand that it may be an unhappy, guess, but, I guess you just ask this to get that at a different time.
Okay.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the hotel motel license, subject to the payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid.
Do we have a second? Second on that? I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Just on the discussion, the conversation that the administrator was having about, I was sitting in the audience back then, and yes, the police chief they were doing reviews and inspections and whatnot because they weren't registering the guests that were coming in. One of the issues is you have people that are renting there, like, it's almost like an apartments, they're renting long-term, they're not here for the weekend, and then they move along, and so there were issues going on, but as far as I know, unless I haven't heard anything different, that they are complying with what, the police do regular checkups over there, and they are complying with what they're supposed to be doing now.
They have to see identification of their guests, which was before they weren't doing those things.
They have cameras again now. that they
Yeah,
weren't
but what's
using.
before you know is to approve their
Right.
license or not. We can't get into the legal or the law enforcement aspect.
And they're not a public nuisance at this point.
Well,
I mean, I guess my question is there any stipulation within the town to have them, I don't know, clean it up, or make it look more presentable, or, I mean, is there anything from a zoning standpoint that we can maybe create a more eye-appealing area to it, or no? I mean, it's just,
I would think that they're subject to
Health, public,
to Department of Health, and even our zoning and building and zoning officials, they have the authority to go and check on these buildings, just
So
like the
it-
police do, and it falls within their purview. We can't tell them, hey, go check this place,
yeah,
we can.
if I may suggest that you can pass the licensing portion, and if you have concerns about public health, safety, or the amount of calls that are made out there to the police department, you can look at that objectively later with numbers, but I think tonight what's before you is their licensing, and if you, I'm not an attorney, I'm sitting next to a very bright one,
Yeah.
let me go out on a
We
limb.
don't
I
have
would s-
anything to deny them their license right now.
That's my point.
That is the
We could suspend their license in the
Later.
future if we get other information, but we
Yes.
have nothing to deny them their license right now.
And you would, and in that situation, you would schedule a hearing, notify them, you have to notify them, this is not, you're not acting as a council, you're acting as a regulatory
Board of
licensing
license.
board. You gotta, if you're really gonna take action against their license, you would need to send them notice that your license is going to be, a hearing is gonna be scheduled to suspend or terminate your license for the following reasons, and on such and such a date, be prepared to defend that, and that kind of thing. And then, otherwise, it would be a violation of due process.
No different than liquor licenses. If we find out that they're in violation, we call them in and some penalty or lose the license or whatever.
Okay, so, Mr. Van Der made the motion and I seconded. So if there's not any further discussion, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Junkyard license. Arthur Ayotte, Ralph Farah, HT Auto LLC, and Bradley LaFontaine. Any- Oh, sorry.
So,
Go ahead, sorry.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the junkyard licenses with the stipulation that all payment of taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees are paid.
Thank you. Second,
Second for discussion.
Ms.
Are
Vadeney?
we just doing automatic renewals on this, or have all of these people applied for renewal? Because I just see like Bernard's, Auto Part, Ralph Farah, and presently it's a solar field. And so I'm just wondering, did it,
All applicants have an application in there, but they have not been processed.
okay,
Some of them are at the end, some of them have
okay,
to recertify. If they don't come in, then
okay. Thank you.
they could do that between now, like any business, turn around and, do it last minute.
Not complete the paperwork, and then we've approved it, but because we put the stipulation at the top of it, it goes by the wayside.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was the second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Fargo?
Yes.
Ms. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Vadeney?
Yes.
Yes. Mobile food truck. RP Winkleton Incorporated.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the mobile food truck with all licenses subject to payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid.
Second,
Second for discussion.
Ms. Vadeney?
On the mobile food truck, do we need to put in there that they also need to have the Department of Health certification with that? That was my first question on that one, because that's a requirement. And the other question that I had on that was, we just approved 2 food truck licenses last month. Did all these licenses come due on December 1st?
If they reapply, we know that Sunnyside has been reapplying every year. They've only just started, so we don't automatically renew.
So when we did them in November,
They were just for this year.
so they started in December 1st going forward, so we don't have to do them again, okay? That was my other question, because we just did them, and I'm saying, okay, if we did them in November, but we did them in November that begin December 1st. Okay, thank you. And then I just had that other, I think that those 3 need to be with the Department of Health certification as well. That's a requirement of them having their,
I believe that's on the website, it just might not have been on the
okay,
worksheet.
all right.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Fargo?
Yes.
Ms. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Vadeney?
Yes.
Yes. Second-hand license. Patrick Winters and Lori Villard.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second-hand licenses with the stipulation that all payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees are paid.
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Fargo?
Yes.
Ms. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Vadeney?
Yes.
Yes. Skate rink with coin ops. KMD Hockey LLC.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the skate rink with coin ops license, subject to all payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Fargo?
Yes.
Ms. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Vadeney?
Yes.
Yes. Solicitation. Renewal by Anderson. Herna Avila. Renewal by Anderson, Nicholas Molo. Renewal by Anderson, Oscar Salute Garcia. Renewal by Anderson, Dylan Downing. Renewal by Anderson, Anthony Hero.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the solicitation licenses, subject to payment of all town taxes, fire inspection, and all fees paid.
We have a second for discussion? Is there a second? We have a second? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. I know I jumped around a little bit. Did I miss anything?
No,
Nope.
that's it.
That's it.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.